Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Travi Wavi. I am your affable host, Travis Eason, and we bring you the Travi Wavi every Thursday morning around 10 a.m., where we come live to you from the Neon Parrot Live Studios. We're located next door to Majestic Coffee Shop, allegedly serving Onyx coffee, right here in the heart of downtown Abilene, Texas, the storybook capital of America. And I'd really appreciate it if you come down, mark your calendars, and join us any Thursday as we move into the summer. I've got a great lineup of amazing characters. Today is no exception, and I bring you the talented and amazing Greg Young. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, you're a local character. We're going to get to know you and find out more about you. You're going to play some songs for us today. But before we get started, let me ask you the question I ask all my guests. Do you have any siblings?
I had a brother recently passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that.
In 2021, during the pandemic, he had probably had some type of a coronary event that was precipitated by the COVID infection and just didn't get to the doctor in time. But so that's been a little difficult. But so it's me and my mom now. My mom lives in Hamlin, and I go see her occasionally.
And you have a beautiful wife.
I do. We've been married 40 years.
And a group of kids.
I have 2 adult children that live here, and then they have given us 4 beautiful grandchildren.
And isn't being a grandfather amazing?
Oh yeah, we had them all over to the at the house, hunting Easter eggs just last weekend.
Good. How old are the grandbabies?
They range from 12 to 7 months.
Oh wow, so that's a good spread.
Pretty good spread.
That's a great spread. I love spending time with my grandbabies.
Yeah.
Well, talking about the loss of your brother and that difficult time, the first song you're going to play for us kind of came out of that chapter. Do you want to share with us a little bit more about?
It did, Travis. What happened was, my brother was only 57 and he died very suddenly. And I had really never experienced that type of grief before in my life.
Yeah.
I've had people die, but generally speaking, it's folks that are. My dad was in his 80s and had been terminal with cancer for a while. So having somebody that close to you die just out of the blue, I mean, it was like right after Christmas. It was just one of those things, that's just totally unexpected.
Yeah.
So working through that was a little difficult for me. I don't mind saying it was a tough time. It was during the pandemic. I work in healthcare.
Yeah.
Enough said there. It was a challenging time for me, and so just all of that kind of came together, and just I had a lot of trouble with grief and depression and what they call long grief, and we're just kind of working through all that. And the song itself is really about, I knew I was getting better when I started realizing that the way I felt, even though I thought I was coping, hiding it well, was actually having a lot of collateral damage on the people closest to me.
Yeah.
So when I figured that out, of course I was in grief counseling, and when you're reaching out to other people and you're concerned about them, that's always a good sign that you're getting better. And so I worked through it, and so of course I did a number of things to get through it, but this is a song that kind of helped me get through that process. And I remember when I wrote it, I knew it was special, at least would be special to me and to Beth, to my wife. And I just sat on the couch, or not on a couch, or in chairs, but in our living room, and just kind of shared it with her. And I had written her songs before, but this is the first really meaningful song I'd probably written for her since, quite a while.
I like that.
Yeah.
Grief is a mist that we must all walk through at various times, and I'm really grateful that you've been able to use your creativity and singer-songwriter skills to help heal yourself a little bit too.
Yeah.
Through that. Why don't you play Mercy Road for us?
I'd love to. This is called Mercy Road. Driving down Mercy Road, down Mercy Road to when you open the door. Like a bird with a broken wing, I can't fly, but I can see. You're my shelter, you're my song, and the reason I go on. Driving down Mercy Road, oh, it's simple and true. At the end of the road, I find you reaching out like you always do. Like a bird with a broken wing, I can't fly, but I can see. You're my shelter, you're my soul, and the reason I go on. I know I'm a hard man to love. I know times it's been rough, but I'm trying. I'm trying. Driving down Mercy Road, down Mercy Road you go. I'm gonna love you like never before. When you open the door, gonna love you like never before. When you open the door.
That was lovely, Greg.
Thank you.
You have a beautiful singing voice.
Appreciate
And
that.
yeah, just a
Thank you.
beautiful song. Thank you for sharing that with us, and also for giving us some insight into where that came from
Yeah.
inside of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. So, lightening it up just a smidgen, how did you come to Abilene?
Well, we moved here in 1995.
Okay.
I'd been out of pharmacy school for about 7 years, I guess, at that point, and we had 2 young children. The place where I was working was in Amarillo, and it was kind of getting to the point to where I needed to either commit to that company or find something else. My wife's family was from here. Our family was from here, and so we just, really felt like it would be nice to raise our children near their grandparents, and just kind of be here in Abilene. And so, just kind of really on a whim, I made a couple of calls, and got an interview at Hendrick, and they were super nice to me, and I ended up working there for 30 years.
Wow, 30 years.
So I did the outpatient pharmacy, which is kind of connecting people with, the medicines that they need when they go home from the hospital and beyond. Focus really to keep people out of the hospital, which I love because I love preventative health.
Yeah, that's great.
And so it was great. It was great 30 years.
Good. And you said you retired in the last couple of years.
I did. I retired from full-time work, just kind of got, after 30 years, you kind of want a day off every now and then.
Yeah.
So at present time, I'm working a couple days a week at a local independent James McCoy pharmacy, and loving it, still. But 2 days a week
that's plenty.
It's enough to keep me busy. It's enough to, give me what I need, and then leave some time, for music without crowding into family time and things like that, which obviously is priority.
Yeah. So I'm curious, because you've brought a number of publications here, and one that you've given me and signed, which thank you for that you've written. When did you begin getting into poetry and book writing, and then we can talk about songwriting?
Well, I've kind of always had a very strong, internal voice.
Okay.
And I've always written. I can't remember a time where I wasn't writing something. When I was a kid, in my head, I'd just be riding my bike, just singing little songs, making stuff up. And then, of course, when I started playing the guitar around 12, it just exploded. And so I started writing songs, but I've always loved poetry too. And I actually studied poetry at Hardin-Simmons for a couple of semesters at a workshop under Bob Fink, who's one of my favorite poets in the world. So I was very fortunate to study with him and get to know him. He's a great guy. And I love a lot of local Texas poets, and I follow a lot of other, folks, and, just really enjoy that. Actually working on a book of poetry now, like more mainstream kind of poetry. The Limerick book you mentioned was just kind of a fun thing that, and that's, just something I did to kind of pass the time while I'm driving around Texas. And one thing led to another, and I end up with this collection of them, and I shared them with a good friend of mine, Glenn Dromgoole, and he helped me get it published. So, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right?
I think, networking, social capital goes a long way. If it's okay, I'm just going to read one really
you can read
quick
whatever
one.
you want,
Texas Limericks, a really cute little book. A spunky cheerleader from Quanah told Bubba, "I will if you wanna." With moonlight and wine on the 50-yard line, two teenagers found their nirvana.
There you go. Yeah, a little spicy.
I mean, that's so cute, man. Just full of fun little stuff. So if people wanted to get a hold of any of the work that you have published, what's a good way to get in contact with you?
The Texas Limerick book is available on Amazon, so you can just search for Texas Limericks from Abbott to Zephyr, or for a few more months, you can buy them at Texas Star.
Oh, yeah.
They're actually going out of business, but that's the only store we actually have them stocked.
Well, they're selling the business.
There you go. Okay, so it'll still be there. Thank you for correcting me.
They're looking for buyers, so if you're interested in buying Texas Star across the
there you go.
park,
There's a perfect opportunity.
Yeah, a few more years on their lease, from what I understand.
And then I have several recordings out there that you can get off of different places, CD Baby, Spotify. But I've recorded a number of albums back when we did that. And here in the last few years, what I've been doing is just, if I record something for myself, it's typically just a single that I'll record because it's the time to record it. And then I'll just park it and just kind of leave it and kind of wait for a good chance to share that, because it's kind of the way music works. I mean, when you need a song, you need it like almost immediately. So it's good to have kind of something in the chamber, that you want to share. And the second song I'll do when we close will be just like that.
Okay. So in your mind, is there a big difference between writing poetry and writing a song? Or how do those kind of correlate for you?
For me, they start the same way with an idea. For me, it's about telling a story. Now, there are some stories that are better told through music. And then there are some stories that you can really only tell through a poem. Certain feelings, certain emotions, certain things, and really that's a story or a song has to hit. And, I don't know what that means to you, but to me, it means I can relate to it. I can put myself in that story and, maybe not be comfortable, but be understanding. I understand what that person is going through. I feel the pain or the heartache of that song, or the hope of that song, or the joy of that song, or whatever it is that song or that poem is carrying with it. If you can feel that, if you can communicate that, then that's a good thing. And so it's really just, for me, it always starts out with the words. I'll play with the words. And, if it lends itself to, rhyme, then I'll maybe make a song of it. But if it's something where it's really not a song, it starts to reveal itself, but you just kind of have to work with it. It's kind of like working with clay or something, and you just kind of sculpt it, and it kind of becomes what it becomes, with your guidance, of course. But it's just a way of communicating, what's the best way.
So what is your process like? Will you hit some inspiration, or will you be moving through grief? How does that spark for you to be able to start to put something down on paper?
I try to stay in touch with my internal dialogue all the time. And I do that by journaling. I do that by writing. I do that by, connecting with other people, playing music, going to art shows, appreciating other people's music. Just anything along those lines just kind of sparks my creative energy and keeps me in kind of a flow where I'm producing good stuff. As far as the process of recalling it, I have any number of things. I have a lot of stuff on my computer, but I also have an old Blackwing pencil and a really nice notebook that I write in. I'm writing something that I think is going to become a book right now. And then I've got a collection of poems that I keep. I think I've got about 50 or 60 of those.
Cool.
And then songs, I'm well over 100 songs that I've written. I don't really number them or count them. And then I have any number of things that are just raw material. And I really don't know yet what it's going to be, but it's something that interests me or something that, I think might interest someone else.
When it comes to this creative process for yourself and collaborating with other artists, because I know you and Terry Knight have been playing some shows together. We get to see you on Singer-Songwriters Open Mic right here on this stage every Sunday night. Talk to me from your perspective on, coming at the process as a solo artist versus in a collaborative sort of fashion.
Well, it's interesting you asked that. Terry and I had a writing session just this week, and Terry Knight, and we were kind of talking about this and similar subject. It's almost like you find people that are, to use a cliche, that are in your tribe. And so Terry is definitely, she approaches things the way I approach things. She likes to experiment with, different ways of doing things. She's not stuck on one way. And the challenge for me is that when you're a writer and you tend to think that the way you're thinking of the world or the way you're thinking of this idea is the only way to think of it, you get a little tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And so working with the collaborator, they have to be, somewhere close to where you are philosophically, process-wise, but it gives you another way of looking at things. And it gives you a chance to, be quiet and listen and try to get into another person's viewpoint, but yet you're looking at the same thing, ideally. And that's good collaboration. And if it's really good collaboration, it kind of gets to the point where it doesn't matter if this was my line or your line, it's the line. Yeah, that's the image we're looking for. That's the word. And that's kind of what a good collaboration is, in my opinion.
I like that. Do you prefer working in a collaborative relationship or being more kind of solo? And I mean, there's pros and cons to both, but do you have a preference?
The easiest way to answer that would be, there's things that'll come to me right away. Mercy Road was like that. And that song is deeply personal. It would be very difficult for somebody to fully understand that to the level of co-writing it with me. So that's a pretty personal song. But then there are some songs that are a little more universal. And so writing with someone that's different than me, Terry and I are a lot alike, but we also have a lot of differences.
Sure.
And so exploring a different way to look at that is something I would be open to. If it's something that's not quite so attached to me personally.
Staying on the singer-songwriter kind of vein here, do you prefer to play your own original music or written with a cohort like Terry, or covers? I mean, do you have any interest in playing covers?
I do. I enjoy it, just for the entertainment value of it.
Sure.
There's great songs out there. And especially if I can mix it up a little bit, like play a song, a cover tune that's not just something that gets me tips, but something that really has a meaning for someone. And then maybe do a song following that song that is connected to that. And there's one person in the room that's going to say, oh, but that's worth it to me.
Yeah.
So covers, yes, but putting them in a show thoughtfully.
Yeah.
And if I could do a show of all original, I would love it. But the problem with that is that people really have to listen to what you're doing. You know, I mean, it's almost the level of like a poetry reading or something. If people are really zoning in on what you're doing, that's why I really appreciate Neon Parrot, because the Sunday night open mic jam that we have, or it's not a jam, it's a songwriter showcase, and that audience is so tuned in.
Oh yeah.
It's a listening audience. It's probably one of the only listening venues in Abilene.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate Neon Parrot. I appreciate Sam and Terry Knight also hosting that. And that's kind of how I got to know this community.
Oh, cool.
And I got to know you. So, but if I'm at a listening venue, I'm totally comfortable doing originals. And you probably would be criticized a little bit, maybe just roughed up a little bit if you did too many covers. They'd want to hear originals.
Yeah.
So it's the exact opposite of if you were playing in say a lighthearted, sports bar or something.
Sure.
They're not going to want to hear a song, that was inspired by, some deep emotion you had for your wife. They want to hear Margaritaville. That's just the truth of it. So, do you fight that? No. You just go with it.
There is a sense, and Abilene has been listed as a musical city in Texas. And we've gotten that listing. There's always great live music all over town. But the distinction that we're talking about right now is are you a cover band, or are you an original singer-songwriter? And or the third way, is there a blend? Are you playing a little bit of both? And some of the other musicians I've had on the channel over the last year and a half have made the comment that in Abilene, generally, people don't want to pay to go listen to music. They want to go to the bar or the restaurant that has the bar, and there's an artist in the corner or maybe a band in the corner, and we treat them kind of like a jukebox. And it's background music, and like you said, it's not a listening room. We're not there to experience that music per se. We're there just to be entertained. And I like to make that distinction and to talk about the Neon Parrot Live as a listening room too. I'm glad you brought that up, because it's a unique spot in town that's the focus. There's no cover, there's no alcohol sales. You can get some coffee and a piece of cake if you want to, but generally we're coming here to listen and to support the local musicians and even people that come in from out of town to play, and listen to their original singer-songwriters pieces. And I think that's something that kind of sets us apart over here.
I totally agree, and I'm so appreciative that we have that here, because if you're listening to this now and you don't know the difference, then you need to find out.
Yeah, come and check it out.
Coming to a place where people are listening to the music, as art or as a something that you're going to share with someone, is a really good experience. It's a communal experience. When I play a song for people that are listening, I'm going to play it differently than if I play it for people that aren't listening. That's just the way it works.
Yeah.
And there's just a certain energy that happens, when people are really connecting with the music that you're doing, and especially if that music comes from something that's authentic and real, not necessarily exactly the way things happen, but it speaks to people. It hits.
It does. And to our listening audience, if you'd like to catch any of the singer-songwriters open mic, you can just scroll back on the Neon Parrot Live channel and watch, the last year and a half of every single Sunday night. We record that live and put that out to the public as well. What are some of your other favorite venues to play in town?
Well, I think the Paramount has a lot of charm to it. I really like the Paramount, even though it's older, but it's really nice. And I've been in similar places, in other towns that are that same era.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that the Paramount here was just an amazing job of restoration and an amazing job of preserving that. It's a gem.
Yeah.
It's an absolute gem. So I love that. Recently, we played out at the Copa, which is a
Okay.
winery in Buffalo Gap.
Cool.
I really liked it because it's outdoors and there's this huge oak tree out there,
Oh,
and we
cool.
play underneath the oak tree. In May, Terry and I are going to be playing at El Phoenix, which
Okay.
is in Burrow Alley.
Mm-hmm.
It's an old, basically when they had the Bankhead Highway back in the 20s and 30s.
Okay.
They had all these roadside.
Mm-hmm.
Burrow Alley goes back, I think, that far.
Wow.
So it's a lot of history there, and another place that's really well preserved and an Abilene landmark. So I like places. I guess to answer your question, I like places with a little history, a little
Sure.
character.
Sure.
You know, and probably my least favorite place to play, won't name names,
Sure.
but would be places that are very generic and they don't really have any character, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just kind of, well, here's another gig, and you just
Mm-hmm.
kind of put your autopilot on and go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I can do an autopilot show anytime,
Yeah.
but I'd much rather do a show where there's people in the audience that are in some way connecting with me. You know, it may just be a nod.
Mm-hmm.
It may be coming up and saying, hey, I really like that Towns Van Zandt song you do, and me smiling because somebody actually knows
Yeah.
somebody that I like,
Yeah.
you know, because we all have our preferences too that we like, and sometimes they're a little off the beaten path.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the kind of thing that makes Abilene unique, is you have really both of those kinds of venues.
Mm-hmm.
And I've mentioned some venues I really like that have the character, and
Yeah.
I'll let you figure out the ones that are.
Well, do you have any venues like bucket list venues, places that you'd like to play, either in the area or in the state or outside of state?
Well, not so much venues, but areas. I would like to, Terry and I have talked about, Terry Knight
Mm-hmm.
and I have talked about, you know, maybe going up to Lubbock. I've never played in Lubbock.
Okay.
Of course, we want to play in Abilene too, but
Yeah.
you know, you can get overly saturated. And I love New Mexico, so I'd like to go up and play. You know, now that I'm retired and I have a little more freedom,
Mm-hmm.
I would be open to those gigs. As far as Abilene, I would be very open to a backyard house concert
Oh
or
yeah.
something. I think
Those have
you
been
know.
fun.
You know, if you want this listening venue experience in your own home,
Mm-hmm.
hire me,
Mhm.
and I can come to your house and we can have a nice little concert in your living room.
Yep.
Or if the weather's nice in your backyard under your gazebo or something, and you know, just sit around and sing songs and have a good time.
Yep.
And it's that is something I don't want to force it, but if I could get house concerts
Yeah.
going, it's a big thing in parts of our country. It's a huge thing in Europe,
Mm-hmm.
but not so much in Abilene yet. So be the first.
Well, so I have a little bit of experience with this, I'm going to date myself because my son, who's now almost 24, was probably 10. But there was a woman that we got a hold of, and I can't remember where she was from. I want to say it was from England. And we hosted a house concert at my good friend Ben Fair's house.
Wonderful.
And we had a small group, maybe 20, 25 people. And that was a really unique experience. And she was kind of promoting herself as doing that. And I still don't remember how we even got a hold of her, but she was wonderful. We've done it at my house in my backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Threw together like a last minute, you know, when the kids were a little bit younger and still in high school, like just call everybody, and had 60, 70 kids show up and put on a great little show. Something similar is the Cotton Warehouse Live that we're putting on
Absolutely.
next week. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's not a backyard, but it's a giant vacant block in downtown Abilene, Texas, with 12-foot brick walls all the way around the outside. It's located right across the street from Frontier, Texas, right behind Airgas. And that'll be next Friday, not tomorrow, but next week, Friday the 17th. Doors open at 6. Justin T. Walker will be spinning some vinyl from the 70s, I believe. And then we've got Garrett Bryan Band and Shoot the Moon. That'll be their second show. Great band. That's free. Come on down, bring a chair, bring your kids, bring a blanket. We'll have food trucks and vendors and the whole 9 yards. But I agree with you that having those moments where it's just about the music. And it's not like you bought tickets to a concert and you're showing up at some huge arena to watch fill in the name. It's a little bit different, I think, when it feels, I don't know, not private, but intimate.
Intimate's a good word. Yeah, I don't really, and I'm not saying this, because I'm out of, but I really don't have a desire to do a big venue. Not
Yeah.
that anybody would ask me, but I don't even really like to pay to go to a large venue. Because if they have to have a jumbotron in order for me to see the face of the person that's singing or speaking or doing whatever, well, that's too big of a room, really. They do what they can, but to me, all the lights and the accoutrements that they do for a live show these days is really just a substitute for what you're talking about. A person with a guitar or a piano or whatever, a guitar and a fiddle, or somebody just sitting around, playing a song. I mean, the way things have been done for hundreds of years, and there's still a beauty and a simplicity with that. And I hope that will never go away. I hope that people will always be intrigued by a troubadour or whatever you want to call it, a songwriter, and that will always be a thing people will enjoy.
I agree with you. I think it will be, as long as there's people that are willing to share their voice and their poetry and their musical talents. There will always be. They can always find an audience,
right?
And there's always an eager audience. I do believe that.
Agree.
We've covered a lot of things so far. What else do you want to share with us about anything that you've published or anything that you're working on right now? Where are you at currently artistically?
Right now, I'm working with Terry Knight, and we're co-writing some songs that we've recorded, quite a few of them, and we've done things. We started out doing things kind of more in the Texas country kind of genre, because we had connections where we could, have a little success. We had, some opportunities, to do that type of work and be successful. But we're also working on things that are just kind of important to us, which are going to be a little more introspective. The Americana, I guess, is the word we always love to call those. But to me, it's just more performing songwriter kind of things. I grew up listening to all kinds of music, but some of my favorite people growing up were like Willie Nelson and Paul Simon, and I mean, I would have no problem listening to Willie Nelson and Paul Simon in the same hour. Yeah, they're the same. They're both, very deep people. And in Texas, we have so many good singer-songwriters that I like to listen to. But yeah, I feel like that's a really, people sometimes go for the easy songs, the Margaritaville and the Freebird, I guess, would be your obvious choice. But and those are feel good songs, and they're going to meet your expectations. But why don't we do a song that exceeds your expectations? A little different approach.
In the past, we've sat down and chatted about some things, Greg, and you have kind of an interesting, I'm going to say, ripple effect in your history here with various musicians and artists. Is there one or two stories that you could tell our audience of just about growing up in Abilene and some of the different people that you've had on your couch or you've sat on their couch?
Oh, sure. When I first moved here, eventually, just in a matter of weeks, I was in a jam group, jamming with some bluegrass musicians, because that was kind of a thing here. I didn't know a lot about bluegrass, but I like roots music. I like things like that. I like Celtic, and bluegrass and Celtic are a lot alike. And so I enjoyed that. I learned to play the upright bass. It was fun. Learned to play the mandolin. That was fun. And so, played in a few bands like that. I also really like country. I also always played at church. So you're right. I met a lot of different kinds of musicians. And I would fill in with bands because I play bass and guitar. So there was a band that was playing at Lytle Land and Cattle, which is real close to where I live. And they called me, and this band was so new they didn't even have a name yet. And so the guy that was fronting the band's name was Tony, and Tony said, "Well, Greg, we really need you to play bass, for this show we've got." And I said, "Well, sure. When is it?" He goes, "Well, we're 30 minutes into our first set now." He says, "But we knew you lived nearby and had a bass, so could you come play with us?" Well, they played, Lyle Lovett and Townes Van Zandt and Texas singer-songwriters, Guy Clark, Lucinda Williams, Steve Earle, all these kind of people that we all love, And so we had that musical connection, John Prine. So I show up with my bass. I'm probably there in 15 minutes. And that night, they decided to name the band Moment's Notice. So Moment's Notice had our little run, and we and then the guy that fronted the band moved off. But we used to play a lot of barbecue places. And another funny story with them is we one time when Tony, the guy, he's moving, he got a big job in Arlington, Virginia. So we had a farewell concert at this barbecue place, and I mean, so many people showed up, like you couldn't find a place to park. It was like one of those things that just a perfect storm.
Yeah.
I guess there was nothing else to do in Abilene that night. Well, that was our farewell concert.
Okay.
So next week we had another farewell concert, and we had another one. I think we ended up having about 4 or 5 farewell concerts. Last time you'll ever hear Moment's Notice. So
that's great.
It was pretty good. When you got a good thing going, you just keep it going.
Yep, absolutely. Oh man, so I know you and Terry are working on a lot of things and playing some shows coming up. Do you have any future dates coming up for
We've
that?
got in early May, I believe it's the 7th, we're playing at El Phoenix, which is here in town. I mentioned that before. You can look on Terry's page. I'm not as good as she is at putting dates on there, but pretty much anywhere Terry's playing in the next few months, I'll be playing with her, and we'll be doing kind of a song swap. So she'll do some of her original songs, some of which I've helped her with, some of which she wrote independently. I'll do some of my songs, and then we'll do some songs that we wrote together. We have a fairly regular writing session where we just come together and share notes. I journal, she journals, and we just kind of share what we're working on and see if it's complementary.
You've mentioned journaling twice, and that's a practice that my mom always encouraged me to do, and I didn't start until, during COVID is when I started journaling daily.
Me too.
And it has been, I'm not sure how to describe it to people, except that I feel like it helps me organize my thoughts. It clarifies my brain somehow, like it's like removing chunks of noise.
I think it encourages mindfulness.
Yeah.
I really do. And I think that for me, mindfulness is really important. Self-reflection, really, self-examination, whatever you want to call it. And it really gets into this idea that we're a lot more than just, the superficial persona. There's a lot in there, a lot of things we don't deal with.
Yeah.
A lot of feelings and a lot of aspirations that we don't deal with, and I think we need to do that. We need to stir that up.
Yeah.
And I think for me, journaling really does that, and it sometimes leads to songs, and it sometimes leads to poems. It sometimes just leads to realizations. Like with the song I shared, "Mercy Road." Realizing that my grief and depression not only affect me but affect other people. So that was a real breakthrough for me, and things come together, sometimes with all that, and it's just really a way of life. I write every day in some way, either in my book or on the computer or sometimes on my phone, depending on when I get an idea. A lot of times I get ideas when I'm driving. That's a little inconvenient.
Yeah, it's hard to write it down when you're driving.
And I don't know why that is, but my idea is that, when your brain is engaged with doing something like driving, mowing the lawn, your other parts of your brain are a little more, can really start to surface.
Yeah.
And so some of these thoughts that you may have buried start to come up. So I'm not really, haven't really gone into, like meditating or something like that, but I think just thinking about important things, Also, during COVID, not only journaling, I need to get back to this, but I started the discipline of walking.
Oh, I love walking.
And I think walking is a good natural way to, get in touch with your inner self, and maybe try to forego, the earbuds.
Yeah.
And just kind of be, just kind of walk, and You know, silence is probably the most awkward thing we have in our day and age now.
Mm-hmm.
It really bothers people.
Mm-hmm.
Noise doesn't bother you, but silence does,
Mm-hmm.
and that really, to me, diagnoses the problem of living in, you know, a chaotic world that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
We don't like silence.
It's interesting that you bring that up, and I'm going to throw a couple things at this. I know that's true about me, and I can tell where I'm at internally if I need to like crank up the radio or if I'm good just to drive in silence. And I know that's weird for people, but
It's not weird
I
at
love
all.
to drive in silence for the most part.
You know, nothing makes me happier than driving to work in the morning
Mm-hmm.
and getting up and hearing there's several annoying commercials that I won't mention, but or maybe you know, a certain, you know, news story or
Mm-hmm.
something comes on, you know, breaking news every 5 minutes.
Yep.
Give me a break.
Yep.
And there's nothing better than, like you said, to have this kind of thought that you're playing with,
Mm-hmm.
that you're thinking through, and just reaching up and just turning that off
Yep.
and driving down the highway to your destination and hopefully missing your exit because you
Mhm.
get so deep in thought.
Yep.
And that's a good thing, you know. Yeah, of course, you know, if I'm riding with my wife, it's not a good thing because she's, you missed your exit
Yeah.
again, you know. But, you know, that's, those are necessary distractions.
Mhm.
Those are moments where you really, you know, feel alive and you're really participating in the day, and you're not
Mhm.
just walking through it and not just, you know, living on the surface.
So I was downtown a lot, but yesterday I'd parked over by the Paramount to meet with some of their staff and discuss some things, and I ended up walking over here to Majestic and then back over there. And on Cypress Street, which is looking great, they've done this really great project just a
Agreed.
street over from us. We all love it. But yesterday they turned on the music. They mounted speakers just on Cypress Street, and they turned on the downtown Abilene radio station. And I'm thinking it's an AI DJ. I don't really think there's a person but that's it. This is Welcome to the Downtown Abilene music station, whatever. And they're playing 80s and 90s sort of easy listening music, stuff that you recognize. And at first I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. But then I thought, I don't know if I like this. I don't know that I need that extra level of stimulation happening, especially when you're walking around beautiful historic downtown Abilene. That's enough for me in and of itself to have that added aspect. And I know that we're, you know, a music city in Texas, and that's probably part of this. But I don't know. That's my first critique so far about the Cypress Street thing.
I hear you. And that, you know, I think that's there to make people feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
When sometimes probably the best thing is for you to feel uncomfortable. I mean, why is there music? Why is there, you know, the elevator music?
Yeah.
Well, because you're in close proximity to a bunch of strangers,
Yeah. In
and
a
there's
metal
no
box.
rules.
Yeah, yeah.
And so now you have to talk
Yeah.
about something that's hopefully important,
Yeah.
but, you know, you're not going to. You just what floor,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so, you know, the whole thing of small talk and background music, I mean, these are all devices that make us feel comfortable in a situation where it's probably healthier for us
Yeah.
to feel uncomfortable.
Well, I'm just going to segue into this thought too. I was watching an interesting fella on YouTube yesterday. I can't remember his name, but the discussion was around artificial intelligence and where we're at right now, like yesterday. And his comment was, because of social media, and we all can recognize that somehow degraded our ability to have one-on-one communications, where we're really trying to talk and listen to each other. And I think we can all relate to that has become more difficult. It's real easy for people just to turn their attention back to their phone or kind of zone off or be thinking ahead, like, oh, I need to talk to Greg about these next things. I'm not really listening to what he's saying. And so if that's a skill that we have started to let go of, not only is that scary and disappointing, but I want to do my part to help showcase that it's possible to regain that, or at least to strengthen that skill muscle a little bit. What does a one-on-one conversation look like? Well, Travi Wavi is an example. Maybe not the best example, but it's kind of like going back to the listening room. Are we there?
Excellent example.
You
Yeah.
know, are we there just to have some drinks and socialize with our friends, and there's someone playing in the background, or are we really tuned in? Or present. Maybe present's the word I'm looking for.
It's a lot more work. You're asking people to do the work of listening.
Yeah.
And listening is work.
Yeah.
It's more than just hearing. It's actually, you know, trying to understand what that person's saying, and then, you know, you can look up facts. AI can give you facts.
Mm-hmm.
AI is not so good at giving you meaning. And I think that I've noticed this with music. You know, AI music's a whole thing now. And so some of my friends that are kind of wannabe writers, you know, have used AI to write music. And they'll send it to me. And my response is typically, oh, you're trying AI. Well, why are you doing that? You know, I think it would be much better for you if you just, well, it sounds so much better. No, it sounds so much more ordinary. And I think it's kind of like when, you know, the new resurgence of vinyl records. We won't get into all that because that's a whole big thing. But basically, you know, there's a warmth and there's an intimacy with the tone of vinyl versus the sterility of, you know,
digital.
Yep. But I'm old enough to remember when CDs came out, and it was kind of hyped and not quite the way AI is, but it was like this big thing about, man, you know, you're going to get exactly the digitized sound. Well, you can't digitize music.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I have a lot of people, I have friends that play and read music, and that's all they do. And then I have friends that play by ear, and that's all they do. I do both. And they're really two different approaches, two different languages. To my people that read music, I have to take the music away from them and tell them, I said, this is not music. This is a piece of paper.
Yeah.
You know, and so the music's coming from in here. The people that play by ear know that. To the people that play by ear, you know, okay, you know, here's some other ears you might want to listen to. You know, here's some other ways to do this.
Yeah.
So it's really just exploring any kind of art, whether it's music, whether it's interviewing people is an art to me. You know, it is just about listening and keeping doing it, keeping, you know, consistent, and just, you know, keep going back to the well. You know, one of these days, something's going to be there that's really going to be meaningful for you. And, you know, otherwise, you know, I was faced with this when I retired. You know, what am I going to do with now that I'm working 1 or 2 days a week versus working 50, 60 hours a week? What am I going to do with all this time? And at first it was a little overwhelming. And I will be honest with you now, I look at my day and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to have, you know, an hour to do this this music that I wanted to do, or to work on this song, or to work on this story, or to call my friend and do a writing session on this, or to, you know, go on a walk or this, you know. So your day fills up pretty quickly. And I'm encouraged by that, because the last thing in the world I want to be is the guy that's watching the news and the sports and all. That's all they talk about is the current events and the sports events and all that. And it's like, you know, that's just deeply superficial.
It is. We're gonna wrap up a little bit here today, but we're gonna go out with a song, and I want to talk about that song, Circles, a little bit before you play it. So we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna close the show. So I'm gonna give a little bit of final announcements real quick, friends. Please come down on Thursday mornings and check out the Travi Wavi live around 10 a.m. right here at Neon Parrot Live Studios. I want to thank my producers extraordinaire, Sam Wolf and Tim Prosser from Focus Digital. And I couldn't do the show without them. Thank you, gentlemen, so much. The coffee next door at Majestic, allegedly serving Onyx, my personal favorite. Catch the other shows that we produce weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. We've got Storybook Theater Scene with Mike Stevens, MC Hosea's Rizism with Tim Prosser, Singer-Songwriters Open Mic with Terry Knight, and you've been co-hosting that a little bit too, Greg. It's a great thing. Sunday nights. All these are free. come down. And if you're interested, you can scroll back on the channel and watch. We've got over a year of wonderful content. Cotton Warehouse live show that is also free, coming up next Friday, the 17th. And I'm sure I'm missing some other wonderful bits. Did I put it on my notes? A couple things. Camp Courage signups are coming up through Hendrick, and that'll be cool. I'll try to get some information up there next week about that. I think I hit it all. Oh, HSU has Songs for a New World tonight at their theater department. I think that opens tonight and tomorrow. I think that's all I got. So tell me about Circles. How did that start for you? What was your process like on writing this song that you're going to play?
This would have been a song that, I got some ideas and just kind of thinking about just circles, things that kind of, and just the way things kind of always come full circle. But going further than that and just thinking of things that, are circles and just how circles kind of inform, what we do. And it may sound like a strange thing, but most songs are list. And so this song would be like, at the bare bones of it would be really, all of these things that are circles and how those things are connected. So at least that was an attempt at it. So we'll see if I got there. Song's called
Greg,
Circles.
Before you start, I want to thank you for coming on the show today.
Oh yeah.
And we'll continue to work together, and I'll continue to listen to your beautiful music. And we can catch you guys May 7th at El Phoenix. Is that the next show?
I believe that's right. Do I have time to check my phone?
Yeah, check your phone. Let's make sure we plug that.
Let's make sure we
If
get
you guys
that.
haven't had a chance to listen to Greg and Terry play together, it's magical. It's really, really good stuff.
Let's make sure we got the right date here, because I'm not the world's best at coming up with the dates here.
And while you look, I will promote the CAF Festival that's coming up June 11th through 14th. You can get tickets over at the Cultural Affairs Council or online. I think it's Abilene-CALF.com or .org. You'll find it. It's up there. It is right there. I talked to my daughter and granddaughter last night, and we're going to get tickets and send them down there for that. That'll be really fun. Did you find the date?
That's a big deal.
It is a
we're
big
going to
deal.
have the I believe it is May the 7th.
May the 7th
It's
at El
Thursday
Phoenix.
night, and it'll be at El Phoenix, and that's in Burrow Alley. They're actually
Just off
having
South
music
First.
all spring.
Okay.
I think they're starting maybe tonight.
Great.
And there'll be some good music there, and it's an outdoor venue, and they have great drinks and great environment. Bring your whole family.
We are a musical city in Texas. We're designated, and I think over the next seasons you'll see more and more live music, which we like.
Absolutely. Well, here's a song called Circles.
Take it away, Greg.
Hang on just a minute. Sometimes that happens. Like 13, never read. Spin that wheel like the doctor said. Count the cost when you win. Lay it down, let it spin. Everything is moving in circles. Everything is moving in circles. Moon and sun, old and young, like the stars we flung in circles. Daddy's girl come to town. Those high heel shoes gonna come unwound. Ring of fire, fiery ring. Oh Lord, can you feel that pendulum swing? Everything
circles. Everything is moving in circles, like the moon and sun, old and young, and the stars we flung in circles. A ring of stone, a ring of steel, a ring that tells me how I feel. In a circle, up and down, painted ponies round and round. Everything is moving in circles. Everything keeps moving in circles, like the moon and sun, old and young, and the stars we flung in circles. Greg Young, everybody. Thank you, Greg, for being here today.
Thank you, Travis.
And we'll get you back on again, maybe.
Let's do it again.
All right, man. Thank you. Thank you, friends, and catch us next week when we bring you another wonderful character from the storybook capital of America. Signing off from the Travi Wavi.